Sayyid Ghulam Mustafa Shah to please come up on stage. And can I also request the Honorable Federal Minister for Law and Justice, Mr. Azam Nazir Tarar, to join us on stage. And lastly, Mr. Makhdoom Fakhr Zaman, the member of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh, to please come up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We have our honorable guests on the stage, and I'm going to request one of the ministers to please start his address. Can I please request everyone in the hallway to please come back into the main room, and everyone in the room to please take their seats. This is the last session of the day. I fully appreciate you being extremely patient with us. But we have three great speakers who are going to talk us through climate legislation and the way forward for our country. So first up, I'm going to request the chairperson of this session, the Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Sayyid Ghulam Mustafa Shah, to come up on stage and deliver his address. Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to you all. Honorable Chair, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure to be here today addressing this august gathering. I would like to commend the organizers of the second Breathe Pakistan International Climate Change Conference for convening this important platform. Since its launch in 2025, this forum has become central to shaping Pakistan's national climate dialogue. Breathe Pakistan reflects a vital partnership between government, international institutions, and private sector, an alliance we urgently need to confront this crisis. Distinguished guests, Pakistan, despite contributing less than 1% to global greenhouse gas emissions, ranks among the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. This stark imbalance between Pakistan's minimal contribution to disappropriate suffering is not just a theoretical concern, it is reflected in the frequency and intensity of climate-induced disasters we continue to face. Over the past few years, the climate-induced calamities have demonstrated how deeply exposed our economy, infrastructure, and communities are light to climate shocks. The devastating flood of 2022 affected millions, claimed over 1,700 lives, and caused economic losses exceeding $30 to $40 billion. The 2025 floods again underscored this vulnerability. Preliminary assessments suggest losses exceeding $800 billion, nearly $3 billion, while more than 1,000 lives have been lost and over 4 million displaced. Beyond these numbers lies a deeper crisis: livelihood disrupted, crops destroyed, communities pushed further into poverty. Climate change could reduce Pakistan's GDP significantly by 2050. However, the challenge before us is not absence of policy, but the urgency of implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, today's Pakistan stands at a critical juncture where the impacts of climate change are no longer distant threats but daily realities affecting our most vulnerable communities. Our parliament has reorganized that securing prosperous future requires more than just rhetoric. It demands a robust legislative backbone with the recognition of environmental rights under Article 9A. We have reaffirmed that a clean and healthy environment is a fundamental right. The challenge now is clear: translating this commitment into meaningful action. I am pleased to note that the Parliament of Pakistan has long demonstrated leadership in sustainability. As early as in 2016, Parliament House achieved the distinction of becoming the world's first largest green legislature through comprehensive adoption of renewable energy, reflecting a commitment to lead by example. From establishing the first ever dedicated SGDCs secretariat within the Parliament House to the pioneering work of the Parliamentary Task Force on SDGs, we have embedded the Sustainable Development Goals at the heart of our parliamentary process, ensuring that every policy, deliberation, and budgetary approval is guided by the principles of equity, inclusion, of long-term resilience. Distinguished guests, the National Assembly remains the vanguard of Pakistan's climate resilient transformation. Through the Pakistan Climate Change Act 2017 and the continued oversight of the Standing Committee on Climate Change and Environmental Coordination, we have institutionalized a framework that moves us crisis management to proactive adoption. Our legislation focus has expanded to include the National Adaptation Plan (NAP) and the 4RF framework, which guide our journey towards sustainable recovery and reconstruction. Ladies and gentlemen, our duty as lawmakers is to ensure the sustainability and resilience facility and our national climate finance mechanisms translate into tangible relief for our citizens. In a strong show of commitment to environmental sustainability, National Assembly of Pakistan joined the world in observing Earth Hour 26, demonstrating its resolve to combat climate change and reaffirm commitment to environmental conservation and sustainable development. Domestically, the National Assembly continues to host high-level national seminars and regional conferences bringing together experts, civil society, and global lawmakers to exchange best practices. Beyond our domestic borders, this House has become a vibrant hub of climate diplomacy, actively championing the cause of Global South. The Parliament of Pakistan has consistently demonstrated proactive leadership. From hosting key regional engagements such as 2022 IPU Asia Pacific Seminar in the aftermath of the devastating floods to actively participating in global platforms like COP, advocating for loss and damage financing and global climate justice to ensure that the voice of climate vulnerable nation is heard. These platforms not ensure that Pakistan's voice is heard, but is influential in shaping a collective international response to the climate crisis. While these efforts demonstrate strong commitment, policies alone do not deliver outcomes. The institutions do this is where the Parliament assumes a central role. In the context of the 18th and 26th constitutional amendments, which have accorded greater constitutional significance to climate change, the role of Parliament of Pakistan in advancing legislative oversight and policy advocacy in the domain has become increasingly important. Climate action requires strong coordination between federal and provincial governments, which clearly defines the role and align legislative framework. Parliament must facilitate the coordination and ensure a unified national approach to climate governance. The urgency of Pakistan cannot be overstated. Climate impact in Pakistan are accelerating and cost of inaction continues to rise. The challenge is no longer policy formation, it is effective enforcement. This conference provided us with opportunity to move beyond discussions and towards action. It must serve as a working platform to develop actionable pathways for an improved climate governance. Last but not the least, the effectiveness of our climate response will not be judged by the strength of our commitments, but by the impact of our implementation. Pakistan stands committed to resilience, reform, and climate justice, but we also stand firm in calling global equity, shared responsibility, and meaningful support. The time is to act now, and the responsibility rests with us all. With this, I thank you all.
I'd now like to invite the Honorable Federal Minister for Law and Justice to deliver his keynote address.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers of this event. And the Honorable Deputy Speaker, with your kind permission, I have a long written speech, लेकिन मैंने सोचा ये है कि टॉपिक ऐसा है कि इस पे थोड़ी दिल की बात ही कर लें, क्योंकि ये लिखी लिखाई बातों से मसले हल नहीं होते. हम बैठते हैं, सुनते हैं और चले जाते हैं, और अनफॉर्चुनेटली बगैर कुछ लिए चले जाते हैं. तो इतना बड़ा इनिशिएटिव, इतनी बड़ी एफर्ट, अगर सिर्फ तकरीरें ही बचेंगी तो कुदरत तो नाराज होगी हमसे जो हमने पहले ही कर दी है. नेचर को नाराज किया है तो आज हम सारे बैठे हैं यहाँ पे. क्यों ना नेचर नाराज हो कि आज से सिर्फ 100 साल पहले की दुनिया क्या थी, जो शायद लाखों सालों पे मुहित थी, और पिछले 100 साल में, या टू बी वेरी फेयर एंड एग्जैक्ट, फिजा में उड़ते हुए लाखों जहाज और उनसे निकलती हुई मिशंस, सड़कों पे रेंगती चलती हुई करोड़ों इंजन वाली गाड़ियां और मोटर बाइक्स, और उनसे निकलती हुई मिशंस, और फिर हम कहते हैं माहौल ठीक नहीं है, माहौल बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज हो गया. जाहिर है ये चीज़ें इंसान की तरक्की के साथ साथ आई, हमें इन्हें बर्दाश्त भी करना है, लेकिन लग्जरी तो नहीं है ना. फिर अपनी आने वाली नस्लों को देने के लिए माहौल भी तो छोड़ के जाना है. तो हमें क्या करना है? हमें बैलेंस आउट करना है. इस लग्जरी को एंजॉय करने के साथ साथ ये इंश्योर करना है कि हमने अपना माहौल, जिसे कि हम क्लाइमेट कहते हैं, उसको किस तरह से ठीक रखना है. मैं एज अ लेजिस्लेटर, एज मिनिस्टर फॉर लॉ एंड जस्टिस, बग़ैर किसी मुनाफिकत के दिल से ये बात आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूँ कि पाकिस्तान में आज भी लीगल फ्रेमवर्क में शायद इतनी ज़्यादा कमियाँ नहीं हैं. नीयत में, विल टू डू में और एक्शन में बहुत ज़्यादा कमी है. और जब तक ये गैप्स दूर नहीं होंगे, इस तरह की हम दर्जनों कॉन्फ्रेंसेस करते रहें, हम अच्छी अच्छी लिखी लिखी बातें करके या पैनल डिस्कशन सुन के उठ जाएंगे, हमारे बच्चों को वही माहौल मिलेगा जो हम उन्हें देना चाह रहे हैं. इसलिए कि विल नहीं है, इसलिए कि नीयत नहीं है. मैं पिछले 20 साल से सुन रहा हूँ कि प्लास्टिक बैग्स पे पाबंदी है और प्लास्टिक बैग्स पे हमने लेजिस्लेशन कर दी है. प्लास्टिक बैग्स मौजूद हैं, फ़र्क ज़रूर पड़ा है लेकिन मौजूद हैं. मेरे और आपके बचपन में तो नहीं थे होते. कागज़ के लिफाफों में, थैलियों में पकौड़े भी मिलते थे, समोसे भी खाते थे, सारा कुछ करते थे. कन्वीनियंस है, सस्ता है, फटता नहीं, टूटता नहीं है, दूध भी उसी में, पानी भी उसी में, गन्ने का रस भी उसी में, मिठाइयाँ भी उसी में. तो फिर यही करेंगे ना जो हम कर रहे हैं. ड्रेन सारी चोक कर दी हैं हमने, बीमारियाँ उससे फैल रही हैं, और खर्चे पे खर्चा आता है उसकी वजह. ये ठीक कब होना है? जब हुकूमत ने नहीं करना, अकेली ने, मैंने, आप सब ने अपने इर्द गिर्द रजा कराना तौर पे भी लोगों को तैयार करना है कि खुदा के लिए इस जो एक बिद्दत है, इससे तो हम लोग बच जाएं, इससे तो बाहर निकले. एमिशंस की बात हुई है, इंडस्ट्रियल एमिशंस अपनी जगह पे हैं, लेकिन हम अपनी आसाइश की एमिशंस भी तो नहीं ना छोड़ते. हम छोटे छोटे कामों के लिए भी हम बड़ी बड़ी गाड़ियां निकाल लेते हैं. पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट रियासत ने देनी है, लेकिन जहाँ पे है भी, बहुत सारे शहरों में, मैं लाहौर की बात करता हूँ, ऑरेंज ट्रेन में कोई कमी नहीं है. It's air conditioned, it's fast, it's clean. میں جھوٹ نہیں بولوں گا، میں نے 2 دفعہ ایکسپیریمنٹلی اس میں سفر کیا ہے، مجھے کچھ برا نہیں لگا، ماسوا اس کے کہ عام آدمی کے ساتھ آپ کو بیٹھنا ہوتا ہے. وہ اسپیڈو بسیں ہیں، آپ کے پاس کراچی میں بھی ہوں گی، ہمارے پاس لاہور میں ہیں، لگژری ایئر کنڈیشن بسز ہے. باہر جا کے تو ہم لائنوں میں لگ کے ٹکٹیں بھی لیتے ہیں، چڑھ بھی جاتے ہیں، سفر بھی کرتے ہیں، بڑا خوش آتے ہیں. تو یہاں پہ شرماتے کیوں ہیں ہم لوگ؟ کیوں نہیں استعمال کرتے؟ رویے نہیں بدلنا چاہتے ہم لوگ. رویے بدلنے اپنے آپ سے شروع کریں. میں نہ کسی حکومت کو ڈیفینڈ کرتا ہوں، نہ میں کسی لیجسلیچر کو ڈیفینڈ کرتا ہوں، لیکن یہ کام ایک بندے کا نہیں ہے. وہ پنجابی میں کہتے ہیں کلے بندے دا کام نہیں حضور، یہ سب کو مل کے کرنا پڑے گا، ورنہ روئیں گے. جیسے شاہ صاحب نے کہا ہے کہ یہ کوئی ڈسٹنٹ تھریٹ نہیں ہے. جس خطے میں ہم رہ رہے ہیں اور جن حالات میں ہم رہ رہے ہیں، اٹس اے ریالٹی. آپ کے ساتھ جو ہو رہا ہے، وہ فلڈز ہیں، وہ کلاؤڈ برسٹس ہیں، وہ بارشوں نے فلڈ لے آئے کہ سندھ والا کیس سمجھ ہی نہیں آتا. بلوچستان میں کیا ہوا، پنجاب میں ابھی گندم تیار تھی، یالہ باریاں، بارشیں، فصلیں لیٹ گئی، گلوف ہیں، یہ سارا کچھ ہے. تو سر یہ ایک ایمرجنسی ہے، اس ایمرجنسی کو حکومت نے بھی نافذ کرنا ہے، اور ہم سب نے اپنے گھروں سے کوئی کار پول کر لیا کریں، کوئی پبلک ٹرانسپورٹ کی سوچ کر لیں، کوئی غیر ضروری سفر، کوئی پلاسٹک کے بیگز کے خلاف کوئی مشن کے طور پہ جاری کر دیں، شوقیہ آتش بازیاں اور یہ ساری چیزیں ان سے ہٹ جائیں. کوئی ایسا لائف سٹائل اپنا لیں جس میں جو ہو سکے کم از کم وہ تو کریں. میرے خیال میں یہی برید پاکستان کا پیغام ہونا چاہیے. آپ سب دوستوں کی آمد کا بہت بہت شکریہ. میں منتظمین کو پھر بڑی مبارک دیتا ہوں کہ آپ نے ایک بڑے نیک کام کے لیے ایک بہت بڑا انیشیٹو لیا. اللہ تعالیٰ ہمیں کامیاب کرے. سب کو بہت شکریہ.
Very fair words from the Honorable Minister that we must all delve deep inside of ourselves and actually look for change bit by bit. Our last speaker for this evening is Mr. Makhdoom Fakhr Zaman. He's the member of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh. He's also the Parliamentary Secretary from the Home Department at the Government of Sindh. Sir, please join us for your address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished guests, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. Today I don't come here as the Speaker of the Sindh Assembly. He was here to be gracing us with his presence, but because of some work he couldn't make it. So he's entrusted me to come here and represent my government, represent my assembly. So I'm really honored and privileged to be standing in front of you. This issue is no longer a distant threat, as the Honorable Minister and the Honorable Deputy Speaker just said. It is here and it is shaping the destiny of Pakistan, particularly Sindh. Sindh stands on the front lines of climate vulnerability, from devastating floods to creeping coastal erosion, from water scarcity to rising heat. We are living in the reality that many still debate. I will mention a couple of incidents which have occurred in the recent future. In 2022, over 12 million people in Sindh were affected by floods, with 2 million homes damaged or destroyed. Entire districts remained submerged in floodwater for months. Then just recently, last year, in 2025, new floods submerged by cloudbursts. 1.2 hectares of cropland devastated rice, cotton, and sugarcane harvests, and they displaced several rural families among several districts. Then if you talk about Karachi being the jugular vein of Pakistan, in Karachi, if you notice, like the past 5-6 days or past week, your temperatures rising above 50 degrees Celsius. Just 2 days ago, 10 people passed away due to extreme temperatures. And obviously, let's not forget, Sindh represents 90% of Pakistan's coastal exposure, and Indus Delta has shrunk by more than 90%, threatening ecosystems and livelihoods around Thatta, Badin, and Sajawal. Water scarcity and salinity are destroying fertile lands in Badin, Thatta, forcing farmers to migrate from there and move to urban areas or part districts. This is not just a crisis, ladies and gentlemen. It is a turning point. And obviously, let me just put it to your attention that it's a constitutional duty. It's not a choice. Our constitution is clear. Article 9 guarantees the right to life. Article 14 guarantees dignity. Article 38D of the people, and now Article 9A, which the Deputy Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker of the Federal Assembly, just mentioned. We recognize the right to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. Our courts have already interpreted these rights to include environmental protection and climate action. This means one thing, ladies and gentlemen. Pakistan's laws and commitments, I would just put some acts in front of you. Pakistan Climate Act 2017, National Climate Change Policy 2021, National Disaster Management Act 2010, National Determined Contributions, NDCs, 10 billion tree tsunami program. These are all acts and policies which were done by Pakistan over the past decade. These are strong foundations, but there remains a disconnect between policy and ground realities. Laws exist, but their impact is not always felt where it matters the most, which is the villages, the coastal belts, floodplains, and among that, vulnerable communities living there. And let me tell you, the frontline exposure is Sindh. Sindh's challenge is not only climate vulnerability, it's also governance complexity. We face fragmentation between federal and provincial frameworks, weak translation of policy into district-level actions, insufficient integration of local knowledge into planning. Meanwhile, Sindh's geography demands specialized responses. Coastal erosion displacing communities in Thatta and Sajawal, Indus Delta collapse due to reduced freshwater flows, fish losing livelihoods as mangroves and fish stocks decline, farmers battling salinity, drought, unpredictable seasons, as we see that we are also predicted to face the Super El Nino this year as well. But I'll also highlight some of Sindh government's leadership's achievements so far as well. If you notice, Sindh Environment Protection Act in 2014, establishing a provincial framework for environmental safeguards. Sindh Climate Change Policy 2017, one of the first provincial level climate policies in Pakistan. Mangrove restoration. Sindh now hosts the largest mangrove plantation drives in the world, protecting coastlines and supporting fisherfolk livelihoods. Climate resilient housing, reconstructing 2.1 million homes designed to withstand floods and extreme weather. Renewable energy investments, while wind corridors in Jimpir and Garo are producing clean energy, reducing reliance on fossil fuels such as oil and gas, and which is much needed of the hour, as you could say, with the situation going on in the world. Coming forward, these are significant achievements of Sindh, but they show that Sindh is not just a victim of climate change, it's also trying to act on it as well. But the next phase requires us to move from response to resilience, from policy to people-centered implementation. So what's the way forward, ladies and gentlemen? We must legislate for reality, not theory. We need to decentralize climate governance, empower local governments, mandate district-level climate planning, institutionalize climate cells at district level. We need coastal and delta-specific legislation, Indus Delta Protection Framework, coastal zones management laws, and restoration of freshwater flows. We also need to enlighten our community. People living in the coastal areas, or people who are mostly affected, are the farmers and the fisher folks. They do not have the knowledge. We need to bring them the knowledge and give them the education so they know what is the decline of their crops and the fish as well. So, and obviously we need provincial autonomy with federal coordination. We want federal provincial alignment. We want each other to take responsibility, because we all are Pakistanis at the end of the day, and we are all getting affected by it. So Pakistan has laid the foundation. Sindh has shown leadership, but now we must rise. We cannot prevent the rains, but we can ensure they do not become disasters. We cannot stop rising temperatures, but we can protect those most vulnerable. As Chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari has rightly said, climate change is the biggest challenge of our generation, and it demands urgent and collective action. That action begins here, today, through the laws we pass or the ones we delay. The choice is ours. Let it for the farmer in Matiari. Let this legislate for the child in what happened. It will ask what we did about it. Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan Paindabad. Thank you very much.
Makhdoom Saab, very, very well spoken. You had a tough roster to follow with the Deputy National Speaker and the Honorable Federal Minister for Law. With that, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I'd like to thank all three of you for your words and for your candidness. And now, we've come to the close of day one. It's been full of energy. It's been full of thought-provoking conversations, and it's been full of passion to actually, make a change in our country. I'm excited for day two tomorrow. We hope to see you all, inshallah. And with that, we'd like to close day one of the Breathe Pakistan International Climate Change Conference 2026.